Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am stitching on this Julie Heaton birdhouse pattern. I started this 8th birdhouse about 4 days ago. This is my 4th day. I've had some ups and downs physically and mentally, and it looks like I just made a mistake. We gotta pull that out. And so I'm just not getting as much stitching done as I wish I could. Plus, in the midst of working on this, I babysat twice. And so, quite naturally, if I've got 2 babies here, it's not a heck of a lot of stitching I can get done. So, I was having trouble with the count on this. And truth be told, the count is off. So, I stopped and filled in the other colors, the pinks, the red, the blue, the light blue. And I do know that I am still off a stitch, but I would have to frog so much that we're just gonna call it. We're just gonna leave it. Just gonna leave it. So I'm just trying to do my second half of my second leg on these, and then I have to fill in the middle. So what have I done the last few days? Well, like I mentioned, I babysat a couple times, and it's always a great joy to have those babies here. It's just an amazing feeling. So last night, when I fed them dinner, Livy doesn't want me to hold her. She wants to be a big girl, so she wants to sit at the table. And because Michi always sits at the table, he knows exactly where his spot is. And she likes the chair that I usually sit in when I hold her, but I had to figure out how I was going to, let's see, yeah, just have to put in the first leg here. So I had to figure out how I was going to let her sit there without worrying that she would fall. So I grabbed an Amazon box, and I sat her on the box, and my chairs have a little bit of a curve. So just by putting her on that Amazon box and pushing it right up to the table, she was nice and safe, and she was able to feed herself. And that made her quite happy. As a matter of fact, I got the most adorable pictures of them. Most adorable smiles. I'm just so touched. I'm just going to show you guys how beautiful their smiles were. Nope, we have to, oh, let's see. So there's Miss Livy. Oh, great, my phone has low battery. So there's Miss Livy sitting like a big girl. Let's adjust the focus. And then I'll charge. Oh, yeah. All right, so there's Miss Livy sitting there like a big girl on the Amazon box. I'm still meddling with the focus. I don't know why I can't. There we go. There's Miss Livy. And then here's Big Brother Demetrius. There's my babies. And now I have a cat who's moving everything around my desk. Yes, he's right here. So he moved the camera. Okay, you've got to get down, boy. Nope, down. So now I have to fix my focus after showing you those. So anyway, so I had the babies, and we ate for a while, and then before we sat down to eat, I have a bag of toys in my room, and I had bought some new toys, but I didn't tell them. I just mixed the new toys with the other toys that they have here. So I was washing some dishes, and Michi comes running. He goes, Nana, Nana, I have a new car. I said, you have a new car? Who bought you the new car? He goes, you did, Nana. You bought me car? You bought me the car? And he's so cute. Oh, my goodness. It's the loudest toy I've ever heard, though. I didn't realize it was going to be that loud. But it's cute because you can see all the gears, and it has numbers and letters and music. So they had a grand old time. And then later, oh, I came in here and they were sitting on my recliner and they were playing with with my tablets. So I got a few stitches in, but that didn't last long. And then, so we go in my room and I asked them if they wanted to watch a movie, and he tells me which movie he wanted to watch. Now his diction isn't quite good, so it took 3 tries, and I figured it out, and it was called The Red Something, Turning Red, on the Disney Channel. So I pulled up Disney Channel, and that was the first recommendation. So we watched that, and it was a great movie. I loved it. And I'm not a movie person, not at all. But I watched that with the babies. Then I went and popped some popcorn, so we had popcorn, and then after a while I got them a yogurt. And the funny thing is, Michi can feed himself, but because I was feeding Livy the yogurt, he passed me his yogurt, and I like, you don't want it? He goes, and he just looked at me and he opened his mouth. So I had to feed him too. You know, he wants to regress sometimes for the attention, which is funny because he doesn't need to get any extra attention. I give him lots. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this stitch. I don't know why. Like I said, I don't know if I said this, but I'm using a light color when I'm making this video, which is kind of silly, but I just have to finish this. So anyway, so we had some yogurt, and then after the movie, they got back down on the floor and they played for a while more. And Michi wanted me to pick him up. Oh, he thought I had fallen asleep. He goes, "Are you asleep, Nana?" I said, "No, I'm playing a game. I was doing a word search." And he goes, "I want to play with you." So he gets back on the bed. So we played Sonic, and Michi was like kind of in the crook of my arm while we played Sonic, and Livy was laying on my stomach/chest because it was past their bedtime. So Livy was laying on me, and Demetrius was curled up next to me, and we played Sonic. And today we're going bowling. I haven't been bowling in 20 or 25 years, so I'm excited about that. So I'm not sure. We either we're going to Westgate Lanes in Brockton, or we might even go to the one that's right around the corner from me. But Ari and Mikey have to call first because they want to make sure that where we take the kids, there's a ramp that can help them to direct their ball. So I don't know which bowling alley we're going to go to. So anyway, so I've been reading a lot. Like, when I say a lot, today is the 4th, and I've already read 9 books, and I'm reading 2 more. The 2 books I'm reading are It All Comes Back to You by Therese Ann Fowler and The Mad Girls of New York by Maya Rodale. Those are the 2 books that I'm reading, and hopefully before we go bowling, I should at least finish The Mad Girls of New York. I don't know if I'll finish Therese Fowler's book before I leave, but at least one of them I'll finish. So that will be 10 books read, and today's only the 4th, so I've been doing good. So let me tell you about a couple of the books that I've read. One, I think, yes, I made the video, but the book doesn't come out till June 21st, so the video won't come out until then. But it was The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, and my goodness, was there a twist in that book. And I'll just leave it at that. There was a major twist. I won't do it, and I hope other reviewers won't do it, but I hope no reviewer tells people what that twist is, or the gist of the book. So that was a Riley Sager book. Yeah, I messed up this stitch. I'm just frogging this stitch here. Another book that I read was Ruby Fever by Ilona Andrews. Now, Ruby Fever is the 6th book in her Hidden Legacy series. Now, Ilona Andrews, by the way, is not a her, it's a them. It's a husband and wife team, Ilona and, what's his name? Oh, Ilona and Andrew Gordon. That's their name. And then their pen name is Ilona Andrews. And there was Hidden Legacy 1, which the first 3 books in its accompanying novellas were Nevada Baylor's story. And the second 3 books, which is technically Hidden Legacy 2, are Catalina's story. And just like the first trilogy came to an end, this trilogy came to an end. And I think if there ever could be a good movie or Netflix series or something, this book would be it. So that was Ruby Fever. I've got to make that video, but that book doesn't come out until August 23rd, so even though I'm going to be making the video today, I won't be publicizing the video. Now, one of the books I'm in the middle of reading is The Mad Girls of New York by Maya Rodell. And this book kind of threw me because a lot of times when I get requests for blog tours or they send me a widget, as long as it's not a couple of specific genres, I would generally take the book without vetting the book. I don't necessarily read the blurb. And so I did not read the blurb for The Mad Girls of New York. And this, by the way, comes out April 26th, maybe? Anyway, no, yeah, it's already out. It came out April 26th. So I didn't read the blurb, so when I started reading it, the main character's name is Nellie Bly. Well, me and my eidetic memory said, whoa, I know who Nellie Bly is. She was in that movie Frankie and Johnny that I watched when I was like 10 or 11 years old. So that's 50 years ago. A movie I watched and haven't seen since came to mind. So I Googled Nellie Bly and I'm like, no, this Nellie Bly that the book is about it's a historical fiction based on a true individual. So there's a lot of truth in this book. But why is it that I remember the name Nellie Bly? So I went to IMDb and I searched Nellie Bly, and I was right. She was a character in that movie. And like I said, 5 decades ago, I saw it and I remembered it. Well, that was I don't want to say just, but it was simply a popular name at that time. And so our character in The Mad Girls of New York chose the name Nellie Bly as a pseudonym because it wasn't the thing to do for women to put their names in the newspaper. The only time a woman's actual name might be in the newspaper would be upon their birth, their wedding, or their death. Now, an example of that is Bridgerton. We have Lady Whistledown, I think that's the name. And she writes this gossip type column. And it's a pseudonym for the person that's doing it. So I ended up doing some research about Nellie Bly, the Nellie Bly that this book is based on. And she was a reporter / journalist that was trying to break into the industry. But she lived at a time during, I think it was the Gilded Age, and I am going to do one more Google search to make sure that Nellie Bly lived during the Gilded Age, and I'm pretty sure she did. But her name was actually, whoops, what did I do here? I jumped a stitch. Do you ever do that? Jump a stitch? Well, that's what I just did. Nellie Bly was born Elizabeth, I think it was Elizabeth Ann, but Elizabeth Cochran, but she changed her name to Cochrane. She added an E. She thought it gave it a little bit more flavor. But like I said, she didn't use her real name in her journalism career. Well, in this book, The Mad Girls of New York, Nellie Bly, she goes to an interview and she's desperate to get this job as a journalist. Well, when she gets there, somebody else, and she calls him Mr. 1 o'clock because he showed up for a 1 o'clock appointment, which would make it so that she couldn't be seen. And so they're pretty much competing for the same type of opportunity, which is to be reporters for this newspaper. And she finds it as a losing battle. She's not getting the editors or the boss's attention well enough. So how is she going to get this job? So while she's trying to, it's kind of a one-upmanship between her and Mr. 1 o'clock, and she comes up with a grand idea is, I'll give you the inside scoop on what happens at Blackwell's. Well, what is Blackwell's? Blackwell's, it was an insane asylum. It was built in the 1930s, and it had a reputation for being a deplorable place. But reporters never got to cross the threshold of that institution because they pretty much had a lot to hide. So she's trying to impress this editor, and she's trying to get the job that Mr. 1 o'clock is also after. So she comes up, sorry for hitting the camera, and I don't know how much of that you missed. Just gonna adjust that a little bit. I don't know, hopefully you saw me stitching, because when I looked down I realized that I had shifted this. Let's see, what is this, where are we gonna start? We'll start right here. So so how is she going to get into this institution? No reporter has gotten to do a story on them. Well, she decides that she's not just going to do a story, she's going to do an expose, and the only way she can do it is by getting herself committed. So she goes about trying to make herself look crazy to the right people so that she'll end up being committed. And one of the first things that she does is she deprives herself of sleep. And I remember my boss from years and years and years ago, we're talking 40 years ago, her name was Karen Hitchcock. And she said that sleep is one of the best forms of torture. I mean, lack of sleep. Forcing people to miss sleep is one of the the best forms of torture. So she knew that if she went without sleep, it would go a long way in her looking crazy. And so that's what she did, and she had kind of a time limit because she's trying to get a scoop on this place before Mr. 1 o'clock gets a good article into the editor. So she proceeds to trick everybody concerned to make it look like she was indeed crazy, and she gets committed to this institution. Now, the deal with the editor was 7 days. Would she be out in 7 days? Well, let me go back in my book. I want to tell you something. Excuse me. I don't know why I can't find it. Our protagonist, Nellie Bly, wrote a book which was actually a compilation of articles that she wrote about her time in the institution. And that book, and I'm still looking for the name of it, and I'm going to see if I can find it. But that book was called 10 Days in Something, and I'm still struggling to see 10 days. Oh, 10 Days in a Madhouse. It took me a minute to find it. So I'm hoping that I can find that book myself and read it before I make the video review. So that's the book that's one of the books that I'm reading. Another book that I'm reading is It All Comes Down to This by Therese Ann Fowler, and it's about a woman who knew she was going to die, and the 3 daughters she left behind. And so the drama is centering on the 3 women and them dealing with the loss of their mother, as well as dealing with the terms of the will. And then there's additional drama because it talks about the individual lives of the 3 women and some of the major problems that they're all experiencing. So that is one of the other books that I'm reading. Another book I'll tell you about really briefly, I read 22 Seconds by James Patterson and Maxine Pietro. So 22 Seconds is the 22nd book in the Women's Murder Club series. Now, years and years ago, I read the first 7 or 8 books, and then I didn't read them for 10 plus years. Well, last year, actually in 2020, I decided to binge read certain series. And so I made this elaborate series spreadsheet in 2020, and I did knock out a few long series. And then for 2021, I hadn't touched the Women's Murder Club series. So I ended up doing that last year in 2021, and I brought that series up to date. So on NetGalley and on Edelweiss, I requested 22 seconds. But I didn't get rejected, I just didn't get approved. So what I did is I went to Audible and I put it in my wish list or in my shopping cart and pre-ordered it so that when it came, I was able to dive right into it. And that was, like I said, 22 seconds. And let's see if I can say our girls. Lindsay, Yuki, Susie, and Claire. Yeah, those are our 4 women in the Women's Murder Club. So that was a really good book. Sometimes books go too fast. They're so good that you can't put them down, but you read them and then you're done and you're like, oh no, now I gotta wait another year for the next book. And that's the story there. Is there anything else I want to tell you about? I think that might be it. Let me bring up my spreadsheet one more time. Oh yes, I started the Agatha Raisin Cozy Mystery series. That's another thing I can mention. Now, Audible has the first 31 books available in your library as Audible, like free reads if you have an Audible subscription. So I got the first 3 and I listened to the first 3. If I remember correctly, they were Agatha Raisin and the Keisha Death. There was The Vicious Vet and The Potted Gardener. Those are the 3 that I listened to. And that's it for probably the next few weeks because I've got so many other things to read, but I did break into that series. I may not get back to it until June or the 3rd or 4th week of May, but I am enjoying the series. And basically our heroine, Agatha Raisin, is a middle-aged woman who is an amateur sleuth. And part of the background to that is she has a major thing for a character named James. And half the book, it's her trying to get James's attention. And so those were the first 3 that I read, which allowed me to use those books as part of the criteria for some of the challenges that I joined in May. So I was able to use it also for author binge, like reading at least 3 books by the same author gives you 20 points. So I was able to get those 20 points. So that's going to be it for now. I want to thank you for watching, and I will be back with more. Bye-bye.